So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we are going to start the second lecture of Fundamentals of Project Management. If you remember, in the first lecture we had defined, according to BM book or according to BMI, what are the basic process groups, and we have said we have 5 basic process groups, which are initiation, planning, execution, controlling, and then closing. Now we have started our fundamentals of project management. Today is going to be the completion of that particular portion, and in the next lecture we are going to start with the initiation, and at the end of this particular lecture we are going to learn what are the things to be taken in initiation. Now, going for the fundamentals, if you do remember, we had taken an interactive example in which we have discussed the tower, and in this particular tower, we have taken different things like the project attributes, and then project constraints. Project attributes, if you remember, are the characteristics of the project, like being temporary, and then it will be having a sponsor. It's unique in nature, and then other characteristics as well. Project constraints are the limitations that we talked about. What are the budget limit that we are having? What's the time limit that we are having? And then after that, we went for the project. And in the project, we have defined saying that the project is a temporary endeavor or a temporary task that we are trying to do to achieve a unique service, product, or a certain result. After that, we have taken the 10 knowledge areas which are there in project management or according to BM book, and these are scope management, schedule management. Scope is what we need to do exactly. Schedule is related to time management, how we are doing the time management. Cost, how do we estimate and manage the costs. Quality, what is the standard which we are going to follow, or what the standards we are going to follow and how to follow them. Resources, how to acquire, how to get people, and then how to manage them. Same thing with the communication. What are the different types of communication? Formal, informal, and then how to control or how to monitor communication. Risk management as well. What are the different steps of risk management, and then we are going to go in deep for risk management in planning. So how to identify risks, and then how to check whether this particular risk is big or small or medium, and then how to get solutions for this particular risk. And then we have taken procurement, and we say in procurement it's related to buying, purchasing materials, and we require to get that database which we require to help us to get the materials from the suppliers. Of course, we are going to go in depth for the procurement when it comes to the execution phase. And then we have stakeholder management, and we differentiated in the last lecture between stakeholder and shareholder. When we say stakeholder is any person who is going to be infected by the project, or he will be impacting or infecting or affecting the project. And then the shareholder is a person who is holding a share, who is owning a certain part of that particular company or that particular project. And then we say integration management at the end. It's the part where we need to integrate all of them, all of these areas of project management. Now, and then we have taken project management. We defined what's a project management, and we said we have certain tools, techniques, and we have certain knowledge areas. We are going to apply these techniques and these knowledge areas to whatever task we are having in order to achieve the requirements or the project constraints that we have specified, or it has been specified from the beginning. And then we have taken project managers, and then we discussed the different skills required for the project manager. For the project manager, that he needs to be a good communicator, he needs to know how to communicate with people, and then he needs to be a good negotiator, he needs to be a person who knows how to deal with conflicts, how to solve issues, a person who can control and who can manage certain budgets, who will be a good planner as well. So all of these things are related to the skills that are required to be in a project manager. And then we said certain challenges are there, and then in the challenges, if you remember, we said the nature of the projects. We have different types of nature. So for example, I can go for a house at the beginning, and then after that I'll go for a bridge, after that going for a mosque or a church or whatever is the type of a project. So my project nature is not, the project nature that I'm entering to as a project manager is not the same. The team members that I'm dealing with are not the same. And then the challenges from one project to another project is not, or are not the same as well. Limitation on power. Once again, we are trying to do this particular project for the client, so I'm limited in terms of power. I cannot have the full control of that particular project. And then different backgrounds, where we are having a team of different cultures. It's really hard to deal with people from different languages, people from different habits, different, let's say, life experience, different history. So that's why for me as a project manager, I need to know how to deal with them. I need to know how to deal with their profession as well. For example, I'm being a civil engineer, and then I need to decide on certain things which are related to mechanical, and then certain things related to electrical or plumbing as well. So for me, I cannot say that I didn't study this one. I need to deal with a mechanical engineer. I need to deal with a electrical engineer, and then I need to decide, because in terms of the project itself, I'll be the final point to decide within my scope. Of course, outside your scope, it will be controlled by the client, as whatever we have said. And we say that it's really hard to satisfy the client, and it will always be a challenge for us. Now, con- continuing the fundamentals of project management. Um, I have illustrated, or I'm going to illustrate for you, two interactive examples, which are going to represent um, for us the what we call the today's lecture, which are related to project and operation, and then project, program, and then portfolio. This is going to be a short lecture. Hopefully, this is going to be followed by the third lecture. Hopefully, it will be uploaded today or tomorrow as well. Now, let me just reach to that particular point where we are going to have the second interactive example. So we are going for the interactive example. This interactive example is going to deal with the philosophies of what's a project and what's a what's a project and what's operation. Now we need to keep in our mind that the basic characteristic of a project, that the project is unique in the nature, and that's in the sense that it will be done only once. Whenever I'm doing it once again, I'll know everything about it. It means that it's not unique anymore, and it's going to be called as an operation. Doing something for the first time, knowing all the challenges, knowing all the difficulties on that particular activity, and then managing it properly, this is called to be a project, because I'm doing it for the first time. Now, doing it for the second time, copying whatever I have done in the first time, this is going to be called as an operation. That's a major difference between them. Where project is done for the first time, operation is a repetition the first copy, which was a project. Now let's try to have this particular example where we require to specify the names of the companies for a certain particular logo. And now you can see that we are having different companies here. So we have Samsung, and then we have ROG, or Republic of Games, and then we have the Lexus, Apple, and then Nike. Okay, now all of these companies are not repeated. Okay, these are not repeated for us. So since they are not repeated, I'm defining their names for the first time. So I might need to go and search about that particular logo name from the internet, since I don't have I don't have the full information, or I require to think a little bit before saying what's that particular logo name. Now going for the second. Now once again we have different companies. So once again it will take me a while to decide. Now whenever you are doing something new, or you are seeing a new icon, or you are seeing a new logo, or you're dealing with a new project, it's something which is new, so it's considered to be a project. So we have Huawei, and then we have Chevrolet, Pepsi, and then Baskin Robbins, and then BlackBerry. So I have defined them. Now going for the third. Now in the third line I can see that these logos are repetition of the first line and the second line. Now, since I have already defined them previously, I don't need to go and think about it. So I'll know directly that this is Baskin Robbins, Lexus, Nike, and then ROG, and then Chevrolet. Now this is going to be representing, this is a simple idea of representing what's a project and operation. Now whenever you're dealing with something for the first time, you might need to go and search about it. You might need to have some difficulties, some challenges. It's not going to be very clear with you at the beginning. Now after you finish that particular portion, then taking it once again is considered to be an operation. Let's say that, for example, I'm taking an exam. I have taken a BMP exam, where I have solved the questions, okay, for the first time, and I learned what are the mistakes, and I learned what are the correct answers, and what are the questions where I have made a mistake in. Now, in the next step, I have retaken the exam. Now, when I go and retake the exam, you will see that I don't need to think, because already I know the answers. I have taken this particular exam previously. Now, taking the exam for the first time, if the exam is the same, or taking the exam for the first time, is going to be considered as a project, because it's something which is new for me. If I'm taking exactly the same exam, then this is going to be a repetition of the first exam, and this is going to be only an operation. It's like a business type. It's like repeating the work. Now let's say that I'm having another BMP exam, and the questions are not the same of the first one. So this is not going to be considered as an operation. It will be considered as a project, because these questions are still new for me. So whenever you are dealing with something which is new, it's going to be considered as a project. Whenever you are repeating something already known for you, you know everything about it, it's considered to be a project. Now I'll give you a few examples further. Let's say that I have been asked to fill a form, okay, in which that I need to write my name, and then I need to write my details, okay, and then after I have finished this particular form, they told me, like, this is another form, you need to fill it for the second section, okay, or the second department. Okay, so the second form that I filled is exactly a copy of the first one. Now I might be I might be having certain questions when filling the form for the first time. Now, after filling the first time, you will see us all trying to copy from the first form. It means that I don't need to think, because it's exactly the same. There are nothing which are unknown anymore. Okay, so the first form to be filled is considered to be a project, while the second one is considered to be an operation, because I don't need to think about anything which is new. Now, the second example where we can illustrate is, let's say that I'm talking about a certain course in a university. Now, let's say that I have taken this particular course the last semester, where it was taught by Mr. X, and then I have taken certain exams with certain students, um, but unfortunately I have failed. So I took that course for the first time with Mr. X, and then with different colleagues, and then with certain examination. Unfortunately, that I have failed, and I took it this particular semester. Now, in this particular semester, now once again in the second or in this particular semester, I'm taking the course with Mr. Y. The students are not the same. A few of them, let's say, repeated the course. The examination are totally different. Now, it's not going to be exactly the same thing that I have done in the last exam. I mean, in the last semester, although it might be the content might be the same. It might be changing. The exam might be somehow similar. It might be different. Now, since there is a chance of being different, it means that whatever I'm taking in this particular semester is not a repetition of whatever I have done in the last semester. So, the previous semester was a project in its own, and then this particular semester is another project. Now, going to some practical, practical examples. Now, let's start with manufacturing, and then we'll go for construction. Now, for manufacturing, let's say that Apple was Apple is trying to do their new iPhone, which is iPhone 12 Pro Max or whatever is the name. Now, at the beginning, when they will start to manufacture that particular iPhone, there will be a lot of testing. There will be a lot of failures. They need to replace things. They need to make up a lot of things till they get the final sample. Now, the whole thing from the starting of that campaign, from the scratch of that particular work till the end of the work, we consider this one to be a project, because we are dealing with something which is new. We are dealing with things which we don't know yet about. Now, whenever they finalize that particular copy, making the new iPhones will not be having something new. I already know what are the things to be required in that particular iPhone. So making the new iPhones are going to be a repetition only of the first one. Okay, so making the iPhone itself, making it for the first time, is considered to be our project, and then producing the iPhones are considered to be an operation. The same thing with the cars. Now, let's say a company is planning to do their new car, the 2021 car. Now, at the beginning, they will start from the scratch. We need to have this particular light, this particular engine, whatever, till they have that particular model finalized. Now, after they are finalizing, they will start the production. Now, the first phase, till they get their sample ready, or till they get their final product, this is called to be a project, because it involves a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknown things, a lot of problems, a lot of unforeseen things. Now, after they have their finalized product, now, in order to make the second product, it's not going to be hard for them, because they know already everything that I need to do, or everything they need to do to make the second copy. So the second, third, fourth, 5,000, 10,000 copy is considered to be a copy only, or a repetition. Okay, so to finalize making something for the first time, since it's unique, it's considered to be a project. Copying it is considered to be an operation. um, let's take certain extra things in terms of project and operation. Now, now, The project normally takes time because it's something which is new. Copy normally, if you copy an existing thing, it does not require you a lot to copy. The same thing with the form. Now, if I have the form, I need to read the questions carefully, and I might be asking the person what to be writing here, what's meant by this particular point. Now, when you copy this particular form, you don't need to go and ask him once again because it's a copy of the first one. Now let's have a final example. Let's talk once again about the iPhone. Now uh, they have started this particular iPhone in 2016 to 2017. Okay, now that was the first sample campaign. Means they started in 2016. They tried to start doing that particular iPhone, uh, putting the components together till they came with the final product on 2017. Now this is what we call as a project period. That's a project period. The starting is 2016, the ending is 2017. So it has a definite timing, a certain start and always a certain ending. Now, when it comes to the operation, they started selling this particular iPhone in 2017, and then it continued 2018, 19, and then 20. It might go 21, 22. You don't know when it will stop. Okay. Now, that's another difference between project and operation, where project is having a definite and then a definite start, while the operation is having a definite start, but the ending depends on certain things. It might go for a long time, it might go for a short time. There is nothing specific about it. Now, in order to explain when the operation normally will stop, we need to understand the difference between something called budget and something called profit. Now, let's say that I require to make, for example, I require to make a machine, and then I have kept 1,000 US dollars. Okay, I have kept 1,000 US dollars to make this particular machine. That's my budget. I shouldn't go beyond the budget because I don't have extra amount of money. My budget for this particular thing is going to be 1,000 US dollars. Okay, now if it exceeds, if I reach to a point that I know that this particular machine is going to exceed my budget, then I'm going to stop my project. So the project is budget restricted. This is what we have tried to say in terms of a limitation or in terms of constraints. While when it comes to the operation is profit controlled. Now let's say that I have made the machine within the budget, within $1,000, and then let's say that it cost making me this particular machine around $200. Okay, and then I started selling it for $300. Now 2017, 18, 19, 20, I kept selling. Now when I'm going to stop only when I'm going to reach to a point that the profit I'm going to get is not sufficient. So for example, uh, I was making it for 200 and then I was selling it for 300. So the profit that I was getting initially was $100. Now, later on, when time passes, you will see that your machine is not having the value of 300. So, because new technologies came in the market, so your machine is having lesser value now. So it might turn to be 250. It might turn to 220. It might reach to a point that it might reach to 210, and you can see that 210 is not worth of doing that particular or continuing that particular production to sell for a profit of $10. So the operation will stop whenever we are having insufficient profit. Project is having a certain budget. If we go beyond that particular budget, then the whole project will stop. Now operation will stop whenever the profit is not going to be is not going to be sufficient. I'll give you an example. Let's say that I'm going to open a shop here in Oman, okay, and I kept 5,000 Omani Riyal to make that particular shop. Now, if I see that the shop is exceeding that 5,000 riyals after doing the basic calculation, if I see that it does not you cannot, or I cannot do it in 5,000 Omani Riyals, then I'll stop that particular project and then shift to another project, because I have a certain budget and I cannot exceed it. Now let's say that I have done it for 4,000 Omani Riyal, and then the shop has started. The shop has started selling, and then I have certain expenses and I have certain profits. So I was selling good, so I was getting profits. Now, after 3-4 years, a lot of competitors came in that particular position, and then I'm not getting enough profit. I'm getting already a loss of making it. Now it's going to be the time to close that particular shop. Okay? So building the shop for the first time is considered to be your project, and then the daily selling is considered to be your operation. The shop is going to be constrained with a certain budget, that's 5,000 Riyal, and then whether I'm going to continue or stop the business, it is depending on how much profit I'm going to gain from that particular business. Okay, and this is representing that when it comes to the project, we have normally one product only. The operation is having a lot of products and or a lot of copies, and then it will stop only in terms of that the profit is not sufficient. So the top portion, which is budget restrained, and then the first time is considered to be a project, and then the copies and the profit control is considered to be an operation. Now going for the third interactive example, and this particular example, we are trying to classify. We are trying to classify the let's say the different categories of works that we are having. Let's say I don't want to mention project, because project is part of that classification. So we have certain work. That work can be classified into different categories. Okay. Now, according to BM book, or according to BMI, or according to project management in general, we have 3 categories. Category number 1 is considered to be a project. Second group is going to be something called as a program, and the third one is a portfolio or a portfolio. Okay, so we have 3: project, program, and then portfolio or portfolio. Now let us try to see these particular pictures, and then we'll understand what's the meaning of these particular pictures. The question says that we need to group them. Now if we can see, this particular project is representing a pedestrian bridge. So it's a bridge. This is like a villa. This is a multi-story building, or let's say a residential commercial. This is the residential. This is the residential. Another residential, and another residential, and then we have a commercial, or let's say a commercial or residential commercial. Okay. Now, after we have seen these particular pictures, we understand that there are 3 categories. One is a bridge, another one is residential, and the third one is residential and commercial building. Okay. Now, 3 groups means 3 different types of projects. Okay, 3 groups mean 3 different types of categories, not project, but 3 different types of categories. Now, this project is different from the second one, different from the third one, from the fourth one, from the fifth one, from the sixth one, from the seventh one. So we have 7 different projects. These are different projects. Now, is it possible to be classified into different groups? Yes, we have already done the grouping. So 7 projects are there. Each one of them is different from the other one. Each one of them is unique. Okay. So since everyone is, each one of them is unique, each one of them is considered to be a project. Now, can we classify them? Yes, we can classify them. Okay. So we have a bridge in the first group, and then we have residential in the second group, and we have residential commercial in the third group. Okay. Now, whenever we try to group related project, so in this category we have only one bridge. In this category we have first, second, third, fourth, so 4 residential buildings, and then a residential commercial are 2. Okay. Now, 3 groups. Whenever we try to combine related projects, we call them to be programs. So we have 3 programs mainly in this particular picture. We have the program of bridges, the program of residential, and the program of residential commercial. Okay. So what's the definition? What's the basic definition of a program? Program is a set of related projects. Okay. So program is a set of related projects. And then the last thing is going to be portfolio. So portfolio is going to be the combination of programs and projects. So mainly I have one portfolio. This portfolio is having 3 different projects. Okay. Let's say that I'm a contractor who has worked in all of these particular projects. So in my file, in my portfolio, I have done all the 7 projects. Okay. Now, this is one portfolio. How many types of categories are there, and how many projects or how many programs are there? There are 3 programs. There are 3 different classifications. One is bridges, second one is residential, third one is residential commercial. So one portfolio, 3 programs, and then we have 7 projects. Okay. Individual projects are considered to be projects when we try to group them into a related group. We call them to be program, and then whenever we are having the entire set of programs and projects, we call it to be a portfolio. Now, this is going to be representing, this is an example representing whatever we have said. So we have specific projects. When we try to group related projects, we call them to be a program. And whenever we try to relate different programs and projects, they are going to be under one portfolio. So one portfolio is something similar to a folder or a file that represents whatever you have done. So portfolio, and then under this portfolio I have 2 different classifications, so program 1 and program 2. Under each program are going to be related projects. Okay. So once again, to summarize whatever we have done today, we have taken basically 2 things. One is the difference between project and operation, and we have said project is doing something for the first time, copying it for further copies, we call it as operation. And then in terms of program, a project, program, and portfolio, program is a specific project. When you try to group related projects, we call them to be a program. And then whenever we try to group all the projects and the programs, we call it as a portfolio. Hopefully this is clearer for you. In the next, or in the second portion, we are going to have initiation stage, and in initiation stage we are going to learn basic things, which are starting from the concept. So how to choose a certain business, what are the resources or what are the sources of business, how to specify the business needs, and then visibility studies. What are the different types of visibility studies? So we have 4 or 5 of them. how to identify stakeholders, how to identify them, and then, or identifying stakeholders, and then basic risk, and then the project charter. Now, if you go to the BMB book, you will understand the stakeholder analysis and risk management. They will be done in planning, but identification of the stakeholders, and then the major risks to be put are to be put in the charter. So we are going to discuss them here briefly, and then we are going to take them further in the planning stage. Thank you very much for listening. If you like whatever you have seen, please subscribe to this channel so you will get the new lectures. Thank you very much. This is Ahmed Al Amri. See you in the coming lectures.